One of these three men is an expert on unidentified flying objects, commonly called flying saucers. What is your name, please?
My name is J. Allen Hynek.
My name is J. Allen Hynek.
My name is J. Allen Hynek.
Only one of these men is the real J. Allen Hynek. The other two are imposters and will try to fool this panel. Tom Poston, Peggy Cass, Orson Bean, and Kitty Carlisle. On To Tell the Truth with your host, Bud Collier.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and welcome once again to Tell the Truth. Brought to you this evening by Prell Concentrate. Good evening, panel.
Good evening, Bob.
That's what I like. Spirit all the way down the line. All right, open up that envelope, if you will, please, and follow along as I read you this first story. I, J. Allen Hynek, am a professor of astronomy and director of a large university observatory. I am also consultant to the United States Air Force on unidentified flying objects, sometimes popularly called flying saucers. Part of my job is on-the-spot investigation of sightings of strange things in the sky. Recently, again, there have been a rash of reports of mysterious flying objects. One New Mexico policeman described in detail a brilliant white egg-shaped object which roared away as he approached. A state police captain says he found the ground still smoldering several hours later. While many of the hundreds of sightings each year can be explained as the result of natural phenomena, others, so far, seem to be without a logical explanation. Signed, J. Allen Hynek. Panel, these three gentlemen all claim to be Dr. J. Allen Hynek, astronomer and Air Force consultant on UFOs, or unidentified flying objects. Let's start this questioning with Tom Poston, if we may, Tom.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Bud. I'll ask number 3 if there's been any photographic evidence of UFO.
There's been a lot of photographic evidence, but none that we can definitely pinpoint and say this is extraterrestrial.
Extraterrestrial? Terrestrial?
From someplace other than the planet Earth.
Thank you. Number 2, has there been any real tactile evidence? Has anybody been hurt, injured, or touched any of these unidentified flying objects in the air, on the ground?
To the best of my knowledge, no.
Number 1, has there been any radar evidence that you know of?
No, none that I've heard of or that come to my attention through the Air Force.
Thank you.
Peggy Cass.
Thanks. Number 3, do you think people drive these white egg-shaped things? I mean, people from outer space?
You won't find anybody who's a consultant to the Air Force, Miss Cass, who will give you an affirmative answer on that.
Oh, well, I think he'll be... number 2, who's Long John Neville?
I think he's a radio announcer.
Thank you. Number 1, have there been many things that you think came from outer space in the last, say, year?
I have an open mind on it. There's no evidence to support whether they came from outer space or not. There are 15 or 16 cases during 1963 that have not as yet been thoroughly investigated. There's no good answer to them one way or the other.
And number 2, this New Mexico police...
Orson Bean.
Yes, number 1, who coined the expression UFO, unidentified flying object?
It was during a newspaper interview after a man named Kenneth Arnold sighted 9 objects flying off around near Mount Rainier.
Number 3, who that used to write for the magazine Variety wrote a book about UFO?
I have no idea.
Number 2, do you know?
No, I don't.
Number 1?
No.
Number 2, now, just off the cuff, just between you and me, do you think there's any of them little greenies in the egg-shaped things? I won't tell the Air Force.
I don't have any information that there are, no.
Number 1, now...
Kitty Carlisle.
Number 2, do you know who Gerald Hurd is?
What?
Yes, he is a science fiction writer, I believe, in England.
Number one, this flying object that the New Mexico policeman cited was built like an upside-down bathtub, I read, that glowed. And it said it could have been one of those things that the Air Force is doing that takes off sort of like that. You know.
Sort of like what?
Number one understands. Is that possible?
I hardly think so, but well, we have to keep an open mind.
Number three, there have been a lot of phenomena around Fort Knox, and it had been suggested that there was a concentration of gold there that created some kind of odd things. Is that possible?
I think what you mean is there have been a lot of reports from the Fort Knox area, and this may be because people in that area suspect that people might be after the gold.
Uh-huh.
And that's it. Time for you now to take your flying objects in hand and mark your ballots, if you will, panel. Mark them at once. Without consultation, simply vote now, if you will, for number 1, for number 2, or for number 3. And our team of challengers will receive the usual $250 for every incorrect vote. All ballots marked, panel? All right, Tom, for whom did you vote?
I voted for number 3. He seemed like a kind of a no-nonsense fella. I guess they all did, but I voted for number 3.
Peggy, which one did you select?
Well, I would think number 3 was a professor because he acts like a lot of teachers I used to have, but I voted for number 1 because, I don't know, he seems so sincere.
Orson Bean, which one do you think is the real one?
I voted for number 2 because I think Long John Neville has a show. I heard it just the other night. There was some poor wretch on claiming to have been to Venus.
He gets have been there.
So that I don't think anyone who knows about UFO would say, I think he's a radio announcer. He would know. And I think, therefore, number 2 was trying to throw us off by appearing. Sorry, friends. Tune in tomorrow.
Kitty Carlisle.
Well, I voted for number 2. I think they were all absolutely remarkable, but Gerald Hurd is a man who wrote a famous book about flying saucers and unidentified objects. And number 1 was marvelous, but I'm for number 2.
Very well, that splits the vote about as widely as it can be split. With a panel of 4, 1, 2 for number 2, 1 for number 1, 1 for number 3. Let's go into the charm circle now and see how that stacks up with truth itself, as we learn now which of these gentlemen is indeed the astronomer and Air Force consultant on unidentified flying objects. Therefore, will the real Dr. J. Allen Hynek please stand up? Very well done. Just to set the record straight, Dr. Heinich is chairman of the Department of Astronomy at Northwestern University and director of the Lindheimer Astronomic Research Center. Very, very pleased to have you with us, Doctor. Number 1, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Frank Amy. I have my own engineering firm in Hopewell Junction, New York. Tankstown.
Thank you, sir. Number 3, what is your real name and what do you do?
My name is Barry Farber, and I do a local interview program on WOR.
Well, you did a good job of fooling this panel, believe me. And in checking the score, I'm sure you know already that there were 2 incorrect votes, and that's twice $250 or $500 coming your way from Aerowax, and of course a gift of all the fine products from the makers of Aerowax. Gentlemen, thank you very much for working us into your evenings, and I hope it was as much pleasure for you as it was for us. Goodbye, and God bless you. Before we go any further, I want to tell you guys and gals something. If you haven't visited the World's Fair yet, you're out of your everlasting minds, because this is the most exciting, thrilling, unbelievable place I've ever been.
Where is it, Bud? Is it?
You didn't know. Go out there and see it for yourself. It's just the greatest. I had a terribly exciting
Henry
time.
Morgan and I snuck in 2 days before it was open. We said we're from television and walked on through. It's amazing. Bring
Doesn't
cards
it
and
defy
everything.
belief, so?
Bring 2 pairs of shoes.
Yeah, that's right. And we'll be back in just a moment with another team of challengers after this message of interest. Let's meet our next team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Joyce Toyota.
My name is Joyce Toyota.
My name is Joyce Toyota.
Panel, please follow along with your copies of this story. I, Joyce Toyota, along with several 100,000 other American students, will graduate from college this June. When I graduate, however, I will be the only woman in history to hold a degree in my field. I will become the world's first female graduate enologist. An enologist is a specialist in the science of making wine. Signed, Joyce Toyota. Panel, these three ladies all claim to be Joyce Toyota, enologists. Let's start this cross-examination with Orson Bean. Orson?
Yes, well, you're splendid-looking girls, and you can make wine in my bathtub anytime you want. When I was a kid in the Depression, I used to help my father. No, that was beer. I forgot. Number two, who was Bacchus?
Who's Bacchus?
Bacchus. Irving Bacchus. He has a small one. Number one, do you know who Bacchus was?
I believe it was the god of wine.
The god of wine, indeed, he was, my dear.
Father of Jim Bacchus.
That's right.
Winemaker.
Number three, how do you get those big corks in the bottle, or isn't that part of your field?
No, it's just pressed into it.
How do they press them? I mean, like this, because then they...
It's done
Both
by
hands.
machine.
Oh.
Kitty.
Number one, the winemaking has changed considerably in our time. Do you believe that it was better to press the grapes with the feet?
Was awfully hard on the feet.
Number
got
two.
drunk all the time.
We on the seeds hurt. What is the difference in the base of spirits and wine?
Spirits are distilled, they're added, they're, the sugar, they're the mixture.
And wine?
Wine is the pure from the grape, the pure juice.
Tom Poston.
I didn't quite follow that last one, but Number three, what is saumure? Do you know?
No, I don't.
Do you know number two? As an old wine expert, are you familiar with saumure?
No.
Number one?
No.
Well, it's a kind of wine. I don't. Number two, how does rice wine differ from grape wine in the manufacture?
Well, I only know about grape wines.
You don't know from rice wine altogether,
No, I'm
right?
sorry.
Because I'm a little familiar with it. Number three, how is champagne brandy elicited, or how is it arrived at?
Well, champagne, it differs from wine. It's a wine, but it's sparkling, and it goes through a double fermentation process.
Thank you.
Peggy Cass.
Thank you. Number two, what company makes Dom Perignon? I don't
Number
know.
three? No, I don't.
Number one, do you know?
I'm sorry, I don't.
Number two, where is Epernay?
Epernay?
Yes.
I believe that's in France.
Number three, why do they why do they keep champagne in chalk caves to age it?
Well, sometimes they do. In France, I believe they do. But in California, they don't.
That's all the time we have. So let's get to the business of pressing the grapes on our ballots, if you will, please. Mark your ballots at once, without change, no consultation permitted. Just vote now, if you will, and as you go, vote for number one, number two, or number three. All ballots marked?
No, I didn't mark yet.
I want to know where they learned it.
There we are. All right, Tom, for whom did you vote?
I voted for number one, because she knew about Jim Bacchus.
Peggy Cass.
I voted for number three. I don't think any of them know too much about champagne, so they must make California wine, and she looks like a California girl to me, so she got my vote.
Orson.
Yes, I voted for number three, too, because she mentioned California. She knew about the double fermentation, which, while I don't know anything about it, sounds right. I didn't vote for number two or number one.
Kitty, which is your choice?
I didn't vote for number two or number three. I voted for number one. I believe she looks like the jolly kind of a girl who would take up winemaking as a profession.
So there we have it, evenly split, in other words. There are two for number three, two for number one. Let's move toward truth with that and see whether we can look it square in the eye and come up smiling. As we learn now which one of these young ladies actually is about to be the first one of the holder of her degree, namely that of enology. Will the real Joyce Toyota please stand up?
Who's going to get up?
Incidentally, on June 11th, Miss Toyota will receive her degree in enology from Fresno State College in Fresno, California.
Oh, yeah, they got a lot of grape stompers out there.
Yeah, they sure.
My friend Setensich is a grape stomper out there.
Who's that?
He wore purple socks for... nobody knew he didn't have socks on.
Number 2, what is your real name and what do you really do?
I work at the City Squire Motor Inn in New York, and my name is Susie Wong.
From the world of the same name. Number 3, you got half of the votes. What is your real name and what do you do?
My name is Leimomi Beamer, and I'm a hula dancer.
You have to go catch your act, and you'll see that her feet are not purple. Checking the score, ladies, we know now that there were 2 incorrect votes, and at $250 each, that's $500 coming your way. Of course, from Aerowax, as is everything else tonight, and a gift package from the fine makers of all their fine products of Aerowax. We thank you for joining us. Hope you had a good time. Goodbye, and God bless you. Our third team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Fordham Flour.
My name is Fordham Flour.
My name is Fordham Flour.
Please follow along with me, panel, if you will. I, Sir Fordham Flour, am executive head of the Royal Shakespeare Theatre in Stratford-on-Avon, England. Although Flour is a well-known name in British brewing circles, my family has been intimately connected with the Royal Shakespeare Theatre for 5 generations, ever since it was founded by my great-grandfather 100 years ago. This year, on the occasion of the 400th anniversary of Shakespeare's birth, the theater has sent part of its company on a goodwill tour. We are currently playing at the New York State Theater in Lincoln Center. My own acting experience, however, is limited to a walk-on in a production of Henry VIII when I was 12 years old. Signed, Sir Fordham Flour. Panel, these 3 gentlemen all claim to be Sir Fordham Flour of the Royal Shakespeare Theatre. And we'll start this round with Kitty Carlisle. Kitty?
Thank you, Bud. Number 2, what are the color of the seats in the auditorium at Stratford?
Red.
Number 3, do they have boxes?
Yes, they do.
Number 1, where is Warwick?
Warwick is the county in which Stratford-on-Avon is situated.
Where's the castle?
The castle is at Warwick.
Number 2, how far from Stratford?
8 miles.
Number 3, what is the name of your brewery?
Flowers Brewery.
Where is it situated, number 1?
Stratford-on-Avon.
Do you run this, number 2?
Yes,
Then you know a great deal about brewing.
a certain amount.
Number 3, how long does it take to brew a decent beer?
About a week. Well, that is purely and simply the brewing process.
I see.
Of course, after that, it has to stand and mature.
How long does it stand, number 1?
About 3 weeks.
Thank you.
Tom Poston.
Number 2, who is Edward Atienza?
Edward Atienza was an actor in the Royal Shakespeare Company some years ago.
I remember Sir John Gielgud describing a performance of his and saying, look at it, it's like wisps of dust blowing across the stage. Beautiful actor. Number 3, let's go into the brewing process a little more. Could you tell me the principal ingredients in beer,
Yes.
making beer?
Barley, from which we extract malt. And the extract from the malt is called wort, W-O-R-T.
Gosh. And I think there are a couple of other things. Number 1, what else is left in that process besides the wort?
You put hops. Hops go in the beer to give the flavor.
Peggy Cass.
Thank you. Number 2, where is the Welcome Hotel?
It's about a mile outside Stratford-on-Avon.
Thank you. Number 3, have you ever done a production of Timon of Athens?
No, we haven't.
Number 1, who played Richard III 10 years ago at your theater?
Sir Laurence Olivier, I think.
And number 2, do you agree with that?
No, name's gone out of my head for the moment.
Number 3, do you agree with that?
I don't, but the name has gone out of my head, too.
Poor man, he's easily forgotten. Number 2, what are tinsel pictures?
Orson Bean.
It was me,
That's
friends.
fine.
I didn't want to...
Orson?
Number 1, who is credited with the first brewing of beer?
I don't know.
Oh, well, it's before our time. It's Libinius, a legendary Flemish king. I have a fund of these. Number 2, congratulations, or whoever it is, because Paul Schofield and Lear is the greatest from all the reports I've got, and I'm dying to see it. Number 3 is Alf Salmon.
Alf Salmon?
Yes.
He was one of the directors who actually did direct Stratford about 15 years ago.
Number 1, do you agree about Mr. Salmon, Alf? Number 2.
That's it. Time for you now to swim upstream and mark your ballots, if you will, please. Mark them at once. No changes permitted once you have marked, and, of course, no consultation permitted while you are marking. Just vote for number 1, or number 2, or number 3. All ballots marked? All right, Tom, for whom did you vote this time?
Somehow I didn't mark yet.
Oh, you didn't?
Mark. Well, I don't know what to mark.
Well, get with it. Quickly, time is running out.
Crayon, my dear.
There we go.
What the heck?
What'll it be?
Anybody who knows Teddy Atienza, I guess I'll vote for him. Great actor.
Number 2 is your vote, all right? Peggy.
Well, I voted for number 2 because the Welcome Hotel is about a mile outside of Stratford, and it was Marius Goring.
Is that so?
And Richard III.
I knew it wasn't me. Well, we're all right so far because it is number 2.
I see.
Because 6 years ago I went to Ascot and lost 15 shillings on a horse, and the bookmaker's name was Alf Salmon. And number 3 and number 1 both know that he was the director.
Brilliant. All right. Kitty Carlisle.
I voted for number 2.
It wasn't during the theater season. That's what he does.
That makes it unanimous for number 2, then. All right, let's see how well that brings you up to the facing of truth as we learn now which one of these gentlemen really is the former bookie. No, the real head of the Royal Shakespeare Theater. Will the real Sir Fordham Flour please stand up? Great pleasure indeed to have you with us, sir, believe me.
Oh, wonderful. It's the best answers I've ever seen.
That doesn't make them feel much better when you all voted for the right one, I'll tell you that. Number 1, what is your real name, sir, and what do you really do?
My real name is Sidney Jones. I'm the manager of the Cunard Steamship Company Limited, Uptown office in New York.
And number 3, what is your real name and what do you do, sir?
My name is Robin Pierce, and I work for Sears Roebuck and Company.
Well, gentlemen, we checked the score and find that the panel was too smart this last time. Therefore, there were no incorrect votes, but in that case, $150 comes your way in any event. And that comes from Aerowax, as well as a gift package of all the fine products from the makers of Aerowax. And our sincere hope that any differential in money may have been more than made up for by the joy of your experience here. You certainly gave a nice time to us, and we hope you look back upon it happily, too. Goodbye, and God bless you. And Tom, I thank you for teaching me how to not have to wear socks anymore. Just stamp on grapes in my bathtub. And
Not rice wine.
Not rice wine.
No, that's no good unless you want white socks.
Thank you all for the great joy you always bring to me, at least. I know you bring it to everyone else, too. And we see you next week and see you next week, too, at the same time. And also, I'll be with you tomorrow afternoon on the daytime show. In the meantime, speaking for Aerowax, may I say not only good night, but may I remind you once again to tell the truth. Good night, everybody.
To Tell the Truth is a Mark Goodson, Bill Topman production. To Tell the Truth has been brought to you tonight by new Aerowax with jet-age plastic for the tough, long-lasting shine that never yellows. Johnny Olson speaking for To Tell the Truth. This program was recorded.